talks was to explain sort of why you do what you do, and I'm going to start out with the why and then the kind of how, and then a bit of like important information about what's happened along the way, which is kind of created the career path that I've led. And really, when I tried to go back to the beginning of why I'm green, why I focus on sustainability issues, I remember doing A-level chemistry and learning about the depletion of the ozone layer, and that was something which was discovered in the 1970s, which is a really long time ago, and I knew at the time that it was already quite old information and we were acting really slowly on it. It really kind of moved me, and but I still followed my kind of path that I'd already decided on, which was to do foundation year and then go and study fashion. And I did a BA at Middlesex University, where I decided that really it was really important for me to, heading into like a really fickle industry, to assess the implications of my future work. So I wrote my dissertation about the environmental impact of the textile industry, which obviously is what feeds it. It's quite scientific. What I really wanted to know was how I could best affect positive change in this area through fashion design. So I kind of banged on about it quite a lot, and I put up lots of signs around my department and told everybody about what I was learning, and nobody was really that interested. In particular my tutors, who told me that if it wasn't organic visibly from the catwalk, it didn't really matter. Sorry, I've got an old slideshow here, so you have to forgive me if I've got the wrong images. But I decided that the best way to work was to get inside the industry and work as commercially as possible, and then to take that forwards as somebody with a bit of weight within the industry. So I went and worked here in Manor House at a really glamorous industrial estate, and I designed outerwear there for loads of different high street companies, Miss Selfridge and Matalan and Primark and New Look and all these horrible shops that I don't shop in. And it was there that I kind of witnessed people, you know, compromising style and quality for price all the time, and buyers really like assessing their figures more than their range planning. They were completely disengaged to the point where they would make jokes in the showroom in buying meetings about the sweatshop labour that they may or may not be commissioning by deciding to book a product. So I obviously had to bite my lip the whole time whilst I was in there, kind of wondering if one day perhaps they'd wake up and hate themselves as much as I did. But years later, another one, here you go, Walthamstow, really nice place to go and work. I realised that I was coming quite to the end of my time with this, and I didn't really enjoy working on it. I didn't like the product. I was really dissatisfied with what I was putting out, and I wondered when I was going to actually feel like I'd kind of climbed the ladder high enough to be able to make a difference. So I walked out of there actually, and I went and worked for a supplier doing technical outerwear, which was really nice because I finally was, as a freelance designer, had the autonomy to make almost an entire range out of recycled polyesters, which I didn't mention to them at the time, but I just kind of slipped it in there from this nice mill in South Korea, sorry. So we went to, I went to Goodone afterwards because really, I'd found my greatest pleasure during all this time actually through things like this, which is a protest that I did in Topshop whilst I was managing an account with them during my full-time job, which I got my photo in the Independent, and no one really saw it. I knew nobody would care or read it actually because it's the Independent. And then, yeah, but it was really hard to find work, so I was freelancing and wondering how I was going to kind of go on with commercial work. And a very good friend of mine put me in touch with Nin at Goodone, and I went to see her to see how I could help. This is the studio, and I really liked the product because it was ethical and it was sexy and it had some kind of balls, and so we chatted a lot, and I worked for her for free, just helping her manage the studio and stuff. And we quickly realised that I could be quite useful because we were headed for what she'd just gained, which was a 2-year contract with Tesco's. So she didn't really know anything about commercial operations, so I was a great sort of support to her through that. And as we worked through it, we've kind of developed our own range further, up the quality, used a lot more pre-consumer waste, commissioned new materials from the UK, really diversified our kind of waste streams that we were using, and I finally felt like, yeah, you know, I'm working on a project that I really like, and that was really great. We're still doing it. We won a sort of sponsorship from the British Fashion Council, where we were mentored by Yasmin Soul from the she was creative director at Liberties at the time. We sold our collections through ASOS and Ukes online, lots of international boutiques. Finished the 2-year contract with Tesco's, and later on, I don't know if I've got a photo of it somewhere. No, it's gone, sorry. Later on, anyway, we sold our collection to Topshop, which obviously made me really happy. So as someone who won't shop at Tesco's, I've worked with Tesco's, but you know, I don't really want to buy things from their supermarket, and as someone who won't shop in Topshop, I'm really happy to get Philip Green to sell my clothes and reach his audience, but not necessarily buy it myself as someone who's sort of quite a mindful consumer, I suppose. So yeah, so going forwards with selling the collections, we realised that we were developing quite a nice sort of way of working together, and a design strategy that really was sort of inspired by the reuse of materials, rather than being restrained by it. It's been really exciting to push that forwards with Nin, and reach a point where now, having shown 6 seasons consecutively at London Fashion Week, and really develop a really great brand identity, that we set up a factory in Bulgaria to make our stuff, and this is what we've just been sending out to everybody about it quite recently. So we're specialising in processing old materials or discarded materials, which is notoriously quite a difficult thing to use, but working with her, I've sort of seen the volume of waste that we produce, and it's massive. There's so much of it, and working with material which already exists, I think, is the key thing for us, which is so much better than even kind of shredding and respinning and reweaving things. So that's kind of how I've ended up here, and I think what I'm really pleased about with this is that, because fashion as an industry is kind of a treadmill, and you're on it and you're on a schedule, and you can't stop. You feel like you can't stop. You feel like you can't get off. What I really feel like we've done really well at is now to stop, because it's not easy to stop, but it feels really progressive, that we don't really just want to produce collection after collection after collection, and we do want to do business the way that we want to do business. We don't want to do it just the way that the industry says we should. And we want to definitely make sure that we're constantly aiming for like the highest impact project that we can have. So pushing the consultancy and trying to do more teaching and stuff like that is something that we both feel really strongly about. And having said that we're addressing this now from the inside of the industry, and that was my kind of plan, and from the outset was to do this. What I think isn't really being addressed, and I can teach in universities and do talks like this and address people like you, but I think the breadth of our society being so disengaged and so detached from everything that we manufacture, everything that we own and everything that we buy is really apparent to me. So that's kind of really, I think, the crux of the matter. It's about an attitude, and with all this manufacturing in the Far East and how things magically appear on our shop floors, which are really quite complex, like composite products, clothes that come from agriculture and petrochemicals, are things that they absolutely rely on, which nobody really associates with clothes, or textiles for that matter, maybe food slightly, but they're finite resources, we're reliant on them, and we're just gobbling them up, and they come from really far away, and nobody really sort of understands how they're made. And I just wonder how much, if people had more knowledge about what they had in their lives, just generally, people would appreciate it. So the question that I'm going to end on is a series of questions to say, how much do you know about the last thing you bought? What was it made from? Where did that come from? How far did it travel? Who handled it? Who profited from it? And most of all, do you actually really appreciate it? Thank you.